Meaningless. Everything is completely meaningless. These are the words of King Solomon in the first chapter of Ecclesiastes. He goes on, "What do people get from their hard work under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth never changes. The sun rises and the sun sets, then hurries around to rise again. The wind blows south, then turns north. Around and around it goes, blowing in circles. Rivers run to the sea, but the sea is never full. Then waters return again to the sea. Everything is wearisome beyond description. No matter how much we see, we are never satisfied. No matter how much we hear, we are not content. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before, and there's nothing new under the sun." That's a pretty heavy, almost depressing tirade, isn't it? Life devoid of meaning and purpose. Monotony protracted over a lifetime only to reach a common and mundane end. Things done and undone lacking permanence by the change of the season. A scary thought. Meaningless. But what is King Solomon truly saying? Is he saying that there is no point to life? No. By no means. Solomon's words intentionally fell upon worldly things, speaking ever in terms of earthly substance. The wind, the sea, man's labor under the sun. All of his words are aimed at a physical world, and so there is hope. Because we as humans are not beings confined to a physical world. And so the question must then be what Solomon truly intended for us to understand. Where do we find true meaning in life? How many people have asked themselves why they exist? Why they're here? The answer is very, very simple. In fact, one word. Ubuntu. Ubuntu. The word translated from an African dialect means, I am because you are. Ubuntu. I am because you are. That is to say, etymologically, I exist because you exist. Our purpose is therefore in others. The word recognizes the vital and essential interconnectedness of humanity. It's been said before that no man is an island, and this is true. Were I the only person ever to have lived or ever would live and spent the entirety of my life in solitude, then I would not have lived, you see? Rather, I would have led a shallow, hollow existence under the sun. It would be one composed of the gathering of food and the changing of the seasons, and little then would separate me from the birds of the air and the animals of the field. Now, this is an extreme, yes, but the point remains. I am because you are, and you are because I am. It's safe to say that in relationships, we can find our meaning, our core. And because relationships define us as people, we must then ask how we relate to others. There's another culture I would highlight. On the African highlands, when one person passes another walking, as there are hardly ever vehicles, they don't cry out a traditional rehearsed greeting. They don't ask how the other is and carry on before the question could ever hope to be answered. A person makes a simple, reassuring declaration. Sao bon, they say. Sao bon. The word means I see you. Can you imagine that? I see you. How many people do we pass each day and never truly see? When I was a child, I liked to play outside. A lot of times by myself. My favorite thing to do was to climb trees, and I would climb as high as I could, and with a strong body and a good imagination, I could entertain myself for hours, but occasionally I needed more. Because children, you see, hunger for attention. And so from the top of a tree, I would cry out to my mother, whom I knew was just inside an open window doing dishes. Mom! Nothing. Mom! No reply. But I'd get her attention. Mom, this man's offering me candy. She came to the door. No sooner than she appeared, I was beaming with pride. Mom, look at me, look. And she would reply with more impact than she could ever know and say what every human being truly wants and needs to hear. I see you, honey, I see you. That's great. I see you. And this is not an uncommon scene with children. Sometimes I think children voice our greatest emotions, one of which is the need to be seen. So how do we relate to others? Do we really see each other? Do we see our classmate who sits quietly every day and puts his head down? We suspect he's crying, but do we take the time to see? The elderly lady who walks the sidewalks of our town in rags. She's probably crazy, in bad need of hospitalization, but do we take the time to see? The girls on the late night commercials, we see them right off as sexy and attractive, but do we really see them? See them for what they once were? See them as a very young, innocent girl sitting in her father's lap? How do we see others? How do we relate to people? There's a poem written by Shelf Silverstein I think is fitting for our time, titled The Little Boy and the Old Man. It goes like this. Said the little boy, sometimes I drop my spoon. Said the little old man, I do that too. Whispered the boy, I often cry. The old man nodded, so do I. The boy went on to share, I wet my pants. So do I, laughed the little old man. But worst of all, said the boy, it seems grown-ups don't ever really see me. And he felt the warmth of a wrinkled old hand. I know what you mean, said the little old man. There are so many people, most of them right beside us, longing, begging, hoping, hurting, just to be seen. Texas FFA, as leaders of a generation that desperately craves our leadership, we are responsible for those around us. With all of your talent, with all of your skill, with all of your ability, there comes responsibility. The Bible states that of those who have been given much, much is required, and I promise